Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Welcome to today's Ask Me Anything session. We will be covering this AMA on attack disruption, the feature on Microsoft Defender XDR. And with you today, we are excited to delve into the intricacies of how Microsoft Defender XDR can effectively disrupt attacks and enhance your cybersecurity posture. Our session today will be led by our team of experts who are bringing a wealth of knowledge and experience in this field. My name is Christos Ventouris. I will be the speaker of the session tonight, but I have a team, the AMA team, who will be reading your questions in the Q&A, answering those questions, and some of those questions will be brought to the session by one of our team to discuss them live. However, several of you have shared your questions already through the online form. Thank you all for your enthusiasm and sending your questions. We received several fantastic questions prior to this call, which shows that you were interested to learn more about attack disruption, and we are thrilled to go over them. These are the main themes that came out of your questions. These are not verbatim questions. These are like a summary of the several questions that we gathered today, and we will go over the next at least 25 to 30 minutes to talk about them. We will also be providing you some updates on attack disruption and some interesting scenarios that we have observed in the recent months. If we would talk about attack disruption numbers, the functionality has grown exponentially over the last 2 years where the feature is live. Today, we can disrupt a wide variety of scenarios spanning across ransomware, hands-on keyboard attacks, business email compromise, and adversary in the middle scenarios. Today, we are excited to share some impressive statistics about the effectiveness of attack disruption. For example, just in the recent months, we have disrupted a little bit over 35,000 incidents with an average time of 3 minutes specifically for ransomware scenarios disruption. Overall, in the last 6 months, we have disabled more than 100,000 user accounts as a reaction trigger from attack disruption, and we will be going over the actions that we are taking overall as part of the feature. And we have saved at least 180K devices from attacks in the last 6 months. These numbers are highlighting the power of attack disruption and how we have leveraged AI and machine learning in detecting and disrupting attacks with at least of 99% confidence. Also, we are getting very positive feedback from customers on the effectiveness of attack disruption. Our customers have provided positive comments highlighting the significant impact of attack disruption. For instance, a banking customer in the US has emphasized the importance of attack disruption in combating APT-grade attackers. Another customer in the insurance market had praised the role of attack disruption in managing alerts effectively. And additionally, a managed security service provider from EMEA and globally have noted the high value of the early detection in security operations centers. Let's walk you through, though, a couple of real attack scenarios to understand how attack disruption can disrupt an adversary's operation. We will walk you through a typical scenario, one of many that we observe, where we have seen how an attack is progressing, and we will show you where attack disruption has stopped the attack since we introduced the disruptive functionalities in Microsoft Defender XDR. In this specific situation, a user is receiving an email. It contains a suspicious link. About 50 minutes after receiving the email, the user clicked on the suspicious URL, which is apparently a phishing attack. The user falls in the trap and provides their credentials, which gets the attacker to capture those credentials and sign in on behalf of the user using their credentials. This action leads them to sign in with and trigger an alert of high-risk signing observed by Defender XDR. And the user, in this case, the attacker who is now leveraging the compromised user's credentials, is creating a malicious auth application with permissions to the user's details and the user's mailbox. This is the point where attack disruption intervenes. After observing the entire chain of events, we have enough evidence to disrupt this activity. And in this specific scenario, we took two actions. One was to disable the account. Now, depending on where the account, if it's located, for example, if it is on Active Directory, or if it is a hybrid account on AD or Enter ID, or if it is an account which is on cloud only, we are taking actions either leveraging Enter ID or and leveraging MDI, the Microsoft Defender for Identity, in case the account is also existing in Active Directory, and we disable the accounts on both sides, both Active Directory and Enter ID. The second action we are taking is to block the auth application that the attacker has created in the tenant. And actually, this blocking of auth application action is in public preview today, and it will be soon released to general availability. Now, how would that look like if attack disruption was not available? In a similar situations, in similar scenarios, we are where we observe this chain of activities. We see activities such as the attacker creating an inbox rule with an arbitrary name, usually something which is not descriptive. It's like few characters, or it is like, in this case, was like a few dots. That rule was created from a suspicious VPN IP address, and the action of that inbox rule was to move emails incoming to the mailbox, to the junk, move them to the junk folder, and then mark them as read. Then there was another sign in from the user. They updated the application with a different scope. The auth application was updated, so they gained additional permissions to the user's mailbox, so they were able to read the user information, send emails, and read and write. And the application started to access different folders and also send phishing emails using the MS Graph API. About 2.5 days later, the attacker would delete the application to cover the tracks. And around that time, this is the average time where we'll see a security team taking action and manually remediating the account that has been compromised. This is giving us a very good example of how attack disruption is able to stop an attack within minutes. and prevent all the other activities, such as sending phishing emails or compromising the account further, or even moving laterally within the organization. Another example, this is more endpoint focused. This is also from the recent past, and it is showing how critical it is to have the Defender for Endpoint deployed across your estate. To set the scene, this is a story from a multinational food company. Earlier last year, the organization was targeted. The attacker attempted to encrypt about 2,000 end user devices and roughly 1,000 servers. From the visibility that we have from the telemetry that we have observed from the Microsoft Defender XDR, the attacker had gained access to administrator account. From there, they created at least 10 new accounts across different domains, and they deployed the vulnerable driver to devices to tamper with a third-party vendor AV/EDR solution. All that within 3 hours, they attempted to execute a ransomware payload, and this is where attack disruption contained the user, where after we incriminated the incident as a ransomware incident, we started blocking the user that initiated all the activity, and we were continuously blocking the attackers users from between the 3 and 6 hours after the initial event. However, the attacker did not stop there. There was some hours later, there was a second wave of attack. This is where we successfully prevented the encryption to the majority of the devices. So more than 2,000 devices that were onboarded to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint were saved by automatic attack disruption. However, there were about 1,000 servers that were onboarded to a different leading EDR vendor that were encrypted. In this case, there were 2 different vendors deployed in the environment, and it seems that MDE was covering the desktop laptop devices, and the third-party vendor was covering the servers. We did have an incident response engagement from Microsoft, and currently the customer has no longer a mixed environment, and the servers are 100% onboarded to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. This is a story where we can clearly see that having onboarded your entire estate on Microsoft Defender Endpoint and the rest of the Defender workloads gives better visibility to the environment, and also enables attack disruption to act across the entire estate. A couple of updates also that I would like to share about some recent capabilities. Firstly, we have managed to reduce the time to disrupt on identities by about 50%. This improvement means that we can now disable accounts on both AD and Entra ID without having to wait for the Active Directory syncing to the cloud to update the user status at the next sync interval. Secondly, we have updated our identity disruption playbook, and this playbook no longer leverages the revoke. Let me go back. The playbook is now leveraging the revoke session and confirm using as compromised actions to ensure that in any case of a failure to disable the account, the compromised identity will still be forced to log off and re-sign in. This would give more time to a security operations team to react. We had also received a question on what kind of platforms are what are the supported scenarios on the different XDR platform that are using signals from the Defender products. The general scenarios we have coverage for are around human operating ransomware, hands-on keyboard attacks, business email compromise, and adversary in the middle. Each of these scenarios represent multiple detectors, and in some of those scenarios, we are also leveraging machine learning. So this does not mean that one scenario represents one kind of detection. We have multiple detections, and most of the times we rely on signals from multiple products for us to establish our confidence of at least 99% in order to be confident that we can disrupt an account or we can contain a device. Which means that the more Defender workloads that are onboarded in an environment, the better coverage and visibility we can have in order to trigger attack disruption across these scenarios. Another common question that comes a lot from customers is how can someone reproduce an attack disruption incident? And usually this question is coming to us because customers want to validate that attack disruption is actually present and working as a feature, and also to educate the security operations teams on how it looks like as an incident in the Defender portal, and what would be the steps to investigate. So to answer that question, we have recently recorded and uploaded a new Ninja episode in the Ninja show for a very well-known webinar that we run for our security products. And this episode, one of our Microsoft security MVPs, Matthias, is showing the high-level steps of recreating a hands-on keyboard scenario. That requires some effort, meaning that you need to build a test lab environment to test it out, but the steps are quite detailed and it can be followed easily. So if you would like to reproduce and test an attack disruption scenario, you can check the Ninja Show episodes that I have in the QR code and in the link. Another common question we receive, and also we saw it a few times in the form that you completed, is how does it look like? How does it show on the Defender portal? Is it any different in terms of visualization, and how can we distinguish if we had an attack disruption incident in our environment? I have put one of our demo environments screenshot here, which contains an attack disruption incident. One of the telltale indicators that you had an attack disruption incident is the tag that is assigned by the system for each incident. You will also see the title of the incident being appended by the string with the same name. So it will be an attack disruption string at the end of the incident, covered by parentheses. And in the attack graph, you will also observe that there have been entities that have been disabled. And you will also be able to observe that actions have been taken. And you can go to the Action Center to get more information. Now, if you click on the Action Center, you will see the actions that have been taken by attack disruption. If you filter the action center contents by attack disruption as an action source, you will see all the access, all the information about automated actions by the feature. If you click on any of these entries, you will see that the status of the action, the timestamp, and also whenever you are ready to undo the action. So, for example, if you have recovered the user account, or you have fixed the device, or you have rematched the device, or have confirmed that you do not need to take any further actions, you can undo the action here. Another option is to use the action email notifications, where you can be informed by email whenever an action has been taken automatically on behalf of attack disruption. You can configure more than one email addresses where you will want to receive notifications of such activities, and based on those emails, then you can create your own automations as you see fit in your organization. One more very, very common question we're getting, it is also actually documented in our public documentation, but this is something that also came a few times in our survey, is what are the actions that attack disruption can take? So we are taking actions against identities, devices of applications, service principals, and in the next few months, there will be also more announcements about additional actions that we are taking against more entities. On the identity side, as I described in the example scenario that we presented, we are disabling user accounts on AD and Entra ID. To disable an account in AD, we need to have Microsoft Defender for Identity deployed in the environment across all domain controllers. There are also two additional actions where we are requiring users to sign in again. So this is by revoking their sessions and confirming the user as compromised. This will enable your conditional access policies to trigger by having the user set as compromised. On the device side, we are taking actions against on the local users, and we also contain devices. By containing the user on a device, we mean that we will actively kill any connections like RDP, SMB, WMI connections that the compromised user had towards other devices in an attempt to move laterally. And then we will prevent the user from signing into any of the other devices in the organization. Of course, this means that this applies to all the devices that have MDE installed, the MDE agent installed, meaning that if you have gaps in your deployment, the user containment action will not apply to the devices which are not actively deployed by MDE. In the device containment functionality applies to rogue devices. So, for example, let's take the scenario where you have a non-organization device or a device that does not have MDE deployed, that has been compromised, and it is trying to spread a ransomware payload across other devices by leveraging compromised credentials. The device containment action, what it does is that it blocks that device from communicating to any other MD onboarded devices in the environment. So any connections coming in or going back to a compromised device from the MDN environment will be blocked. And as we described, as the last one, as we described on the example scenario with a compromised user who clicked on a suspicious link, we currently have the blocking of auth applications in public preview. So with that, we have covered the majority of the questions that you had sent from our survey, from our pre-webinar survey, and thank you for asking those. And I think we can now spend some more time to discuss some of the questions in the Q&A. I don't know, Jason, do we have anything which is interesting to surface?
Yeah, the team's been great with answering questions. We do have a lot. So there was a few left unanswered, so I figured we could start there. The first one is a bit long. So it is, in our Action Center tab in Defender, there are often soft delete emails, actions pending approval, after a phishing email ended up being delivered to multiple mailboxes. Our security operators can't take action on them as approving requires security admin permissions. Why can't these actions be automated with no approval required, and why can't a security operator approve them?
Okay, that's a great question. For that, around disrupting emails automatically, I will probably ask the support from Eyal if you are online to help us with answering that.
Hi, yes. So the feature that is described in the question is not actually an attack disruption feature. It's an automated investigation and response capability. So it's not within the scope of this call.
Okay, great. The next question we have is, when XDR disables account in on-prem Active Directory, it also removes all of that user objects group memberships. Why does it do that, and how can I change that behavior?
This is something we need to confirm. So we need to double check before we can answer that. I'm not familiar with that behavior, but we need to double check that.
Okay, great. The next question is, how does attack disruption prevent devices from being encrypted when the malicious actor boots it up in safe mode? What does it do differently than other XDR solutions?
So at the moment, we're building and consolidating a plan on how to mitigate this, but we are well aware of the fact that attackers are leveraging this functionality.
Great. The next one is, if the user has created a malicious OAuth app, does this mean this user is a highly privileged user?
Unfortunately, there's no...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eyal, sorry.
Are you able to answer that, Christos?
My understanding, if I got the question correctly, is that the auth app is created by the attacker on their environment, right, Eyal?
Yeah. Hi, sorry. So the actual reason why we haven't replied to that, because we need to confirm that attack disruption is a feature that basically covers many types of signals and products. So we would need to have an expert in that area in order to answer that. So not sure. In general, the questions that we haven't answered are ones that we need to kind of dig in a bit further.
Okay, I will go with the ones that were just asked in the chat then. The first one is, what does it mean if attack disruption as a action source filter and action center isn't listed? We have automated email action and automated device action. Is this a new tag, or are we missing something?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
All right. We can wait for them to clarify.
I can just say, just to clarify, I can say that we are not currently taking, sorry, email actions on emails. Christos showed the type of actions we are currently taking. Email is not one of them. The automated email action that is referred to here is probably part of the auto-IR, automated investigation and response capability that is different from attack disruption.
Great, thank you.
By the way, sorry, yeah, just one more thing. Christos shared QR code earlier for, I believe it was a webinar with some questions, a previous webinar that was held by Christos. And there's some explanation on the difference between attack disruption and automated investigation and response.
Great. And I just put the link to that again in the chat. The next one was, you briefly mentioned what is required to disable on-premise AD account. Could you say that again regarding the setup?
Yeah, sure. So in order for attack disruption to be able to disable accounts in AD, you need to have MDI deployed, the Microsoft Defender for Identity deployed across your all your Active Directory controllers. This is the main requirement. We do have documented like all the checklists that you need to check to validate that attack disruption will be able to be effective in your environment. So some of these settings are already out of the box, pre-configured in your environment. For some others, you need to validate that you have them set. But as a general, like a very high level answer, you need to have the Defender for Identity deployed and configured.
Great, thank you. The next one is, after a device or user containment action occurs, how long does it take for the action to be reverted?
So the action can be either reverted manually from the action center, or it automatically reverts after 5 days.
That's within containment on a device. Active Directory and Entra ID entities are not reverted. So it is up to the SOC, security staff to investigate and revert back after they establish that it is safe to do so.
Great, thank you. The next one is, what are the conditions that trigger automatic attack disruption?
So yeah, Eyal, go ahead. I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, so there are many ways and mechanisms that we use in order to disrupt attacks and incidents. I can just say that there are multiple sources. Some of them are detectors that are written by Microsoft research team. Some of them are TI based. Some of them are ML and AI based. There's no single answer to that. And it's quite a complex area. There are a lot of variables that go into it.
But I think what we need to highlight once more is that the more Defender workloads you have deployed, the more likely it is for an attack disruption incident to surface with high confidence.
Great, thanks. The next one is, if we require cloud app admins to approve app registration consent requests, are we preventing the OAuth attack scenario entirely? And if a bad actor takes control of a previous authorized registered app, will Defender detect and automatically disrupt attacks using this compromised OAuth app?
So unfortunately, I don't think we have on the call somebody who specializes in that area, and therefore we cannot answer that now.
Okay, no worries. The next one is, what happens to the Action Center items for if they're left unattended?
Well, if they're left unattended, the action center items will still remain there. Some of the actions, as Aviv said, will be reverted, but it will also show in the action center. But if you don't undo an action, or if you don't observe what has happened in attack disruption incident, the action center will keep showing that information. And of course, you can see what are the active actions that you need to review in case there are semi-automatic actions that you need to approve. And you can go to the history of the action center to see where the actions that have been taken manually or automatically recently.
Great. The next one is, what's the false positive rate for attack disruption, and is it publicly documented?
False positive rate is lower than 1%.
Great. Next one is, I think questions about emails were asked due to presentation. Here where the attacker sent malicious emails with suspicious app. Does this scenario differ between AIR and automatic disruption?
To my understanding, AIR will initiate an action, and you will need admin approval for it to execute. Attack disruption, on the other hand, will take that action on behalf of the organization. However, in the scenario of emails, as Eyal said before, we do not have coverage for automatic attack disruption for emails.
Okay, great. The next one is, regarding disabling on-premise again, MDI is deployed, but an account that is disabled in AAD is overwritten by on-premise AD sync. We are out of box AD connect. Does Defender use the MDI to disable and not disable an Entra?
We use both. So we disable, providing that there's MDI, we disable the account via MDI on-prem, and also we directly disable, we do not wait for the sync. We directly disable the account in the cloud as well, in Entra ID.
Great. The next one is, how does attack disruption work with attack surface reduction? Seems like most of these attacks can already be prevented with it.
This is part of future initiatives. I cannot provide further information on that.
Okay. The next question we have is, for automated responses, when it pauses because it wants a human to approve an action, how can we tell Defender to not wait for approval and just get on with it?
If we are talking about device actions that are initiated by AutoIR, what you need to do is you need to go to the settings of Defender for Endpoint and set all your device groups on fully automatic mode for automatic investigation. If you have any group that you have configured as semi-automatic, then in that case, any actions from AutoIR will be pending in the action center for you to approve.
This does not apply to attack disruption. Attack disruption
Correct.
takes actions without approval.
That's right.
Great. The next one is there any way to prevent Defender from taking actions on AD registered devices, such as personal or non-corporate device with an Office app installed?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, you can exclude specific devices today by setting the automation level to no automated response on the specific device group you want to exclude.
Great. The next one is, we had an attack disruption incident where the user was disabled. MIM then auto re-enabled them a few hours later. We have written a playbook to stop this auto re-enable, but is there any other solution for this?
Currently, no. Again, no. Currently, no, there isn't.
Okay. The next one is attack disruption is not triggering on phishing emails that delivered payloads currently, and there has been only one detection over the last 60 days. We do not have MDI enabled, but we do only have Entra ID enabled. Could this be a prime reason?
Well, we do not have details about the specific alert. However, for our detectors to trigger an attack disruption incident with high confidence and remain below the 1% FP rate, we need to have as many Defender workloads deployed as possible. So I don't know if this is the case for this specific scenario, but it could be.
The next question is, I reckon there is no switch on or off mechanism for the attack disruption mechanism. Rather, it's an inbuilt solution with Defender for Endpoint. Is that correct?
Yes, that's indeed correct. It's on by default and out of the box. If you want to opt out completely from automatic attack disruption, then you need to reach out to support and they'll help you with it. We strongly recommend not to do that. And if needed, exclude specific entities such as users or devices.
Great. The next question is, how does this execute if you are also using the Microsoft Defender for Experts service?
This does not conflict with Defender for Experts service. Defender for Experts are also reviewing attack disruption incidents, and there are situations also where they can send you endpoint attack notifications as part of the service. There is no conflict though between the Defender Experts and attack disruption.
Great. The next one is, can we test MDI's AAD and AD user account containment before a real attack is detected?
So it is possible to use the portal in order to carry out the disablement actions manually. So it is possible to go select the user and from the portal disable the AD user and the Entra ID user and see the effect of that. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you. The next one is, regarding AD account disabling again, can this on-premise disabling through the MDI be used by non-Defender Sentinel playbooks for other alerts, or is there a mechanism to perform this disabling manually through Defender?
Sorry, Jason, I think I missed the first half of the question. Could you repeat that?
Yeah. Regarding AD account disabling again, can this on-premise disabling through the MDI be used by non-Defender Sentinel playbooks for other alerts, or is there a mechanism to perform this disabling manually through Defender, through the alert?
Well, if I understood the question correctly, currently attack disruption operates on first-party signals, meaning on telemetry that comes from Defender workloads. So it will not collect telemetry from third parties or act on third-party products. If I got the question right.
Thank you. The next one is, according to best practice, is it recommended to disable AMA on domain controllers?
That is beyond the scope of attack disruption, so I'm not sure how to answer that. That's more of a Sentinel question.
Okay. The next one is, in which case will after 5 days of containment to be released, and when will it not? I'm not sure if that makes sense, but
Yeah, I understand. So the actions with automatic TTL are contain user, contain device, and contain IP. All other actions does not have automatic TTL.
great. The next one is, you mentioned we need an agent deploy on DCs. Please, could you mention this again regarding required to disable on-prem AD account?
So it looks like Christos dropped, so I'll answer that. Yeah, so MDI has to be deployed and for attack disruption to be able to act on a specific compromised account. It means that on the domain controller where that account resides, there needs to be the MDI sensor installed, as otherwise the action could not be taken.
Great. The next one we have is, how useful is auto attack disruption without the Defender for Cloud App's full E5 license?
It is difficult to answer that. I would just say because we have multiple detectors and there is different types of dependencies for different types of detectors. I would just repeat again what Christos said earlier. The wider the deployment, the better the coverage and the ability to respond and disrupt attacks.
Great, thank you. The next one is, does automatic attack disruption require MD? Oh, I already asked that one. Why does MDE not automatically isolate the compromised machine? We currently rely on custom detections to run in a schedule, and the minimum we can select is 1 hour. We would like to reduce to 5 to 10 minutes as NRT is great as an option.
So as of today, our hero scenario is protecting against human-operated attacks, and in those we witness that in impact stage, attackers usually perform massive lateral movement. Today, the first action implemented for automatic attack disruption on devices is contain, which means that basically all other endpoints onboarded to MD will receive the policy not to communicate with the device to prevent lateral movement. Isolation does not prevent lateral movement, and that's the case for now.
Great. Thank you. The next question we have is, we have seen a possible targeting of a new exploit where tooling is used to steal tokens with the Intune company portal client ID. A user clicked on a phishing link and the threat actor was able to get the MFA token. The CAT that requires a compliant device then, by design, redirected the threat actor to the Microsoft Intune web company portal. Can this attack also be disrupted?
As far as I understand, this is we're describing a scenario around the device code attack that was recently observed. As far as I know, the attack deception does not have a coverage for that scenario yet.
Okay, thank you. The next one is, referencing the case study presented, could you clarify what caused 1% of the devices covered by MDE to become compromised and what the remediation activities were to get those devices back to a usable and safe state?
Yeah, so usually what we see is that a really small percentage of devices are being usually partially, not fully encrypted, because of the velocity of the encryption and the time it takes from detecting encryption to actually providing org-wide cloud-based protection policies, which are delivered in real time and in a matter of seconds to few minutes, but this is usually the time it takes for just several devices to still be encrypted.
Great, thanks. The next one is, how do I reduce the risk of malicious apps tricking users into granting them access to org data?
Yeah, I don't think we have somebody on the line to be able to answer that.
Okay, no worries. The next one is, how does attack disruption prevent devices from being encrypted when the malicious actor boots it up in safe mode? What does it do differently than other XDR solutions?
So
we've already gone.
Yeah.
Oh, we did? Okay.
We've answered that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. The next one is, releasing device from attack disruption-oriented account lockout can only be done by security admins through MDE console, or can it also be performed by Active Directory management team?
This can be done, well, if the question refers to the undo action, it really depends on the RBAC permission, the permissions the user has assigned to them. So yeah, it's not something that we can say as a yes or no, but it really depends on the RBAC role the user has on the XDR portal. So if an Azure, go ahead, Aviv.
No, I just perhaps I misunderstood the question, but I think if I understand correctly the question, then for disabled user, you would be able to re-enable the user from Active Directory, for example. For contained user, this can only be done through the XDR portal.
Great. The last question we have is, seems like it was already answered by y'all. Thank you. So that seems to be all the questions we have for today. Thanks so much for all the engagement. Really appreciate all the questions. So with that, I'd like to thank you, Christos, for being our guest. And thank you, Aviv and Ayal, for helping with answering the questions, and all of you for sharing the great information with our community. Also, thank you to the Q&A team who helped us with answering the questions and providing the resourceful information. To all the listeners still on the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desire to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together, we can make a global impact. So join us at aka.ms/securitycommunity. This is also where you'll be notified about the upcoming webinars, events, and other announcements. For those of you who may have additional questions on the topic we just covered or other product-related questions, please feel free to raise them on our Microsoft Tech Community discussion space at aka.ms/mdxdr community. Thank you all for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.